choose the game, game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophy. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I ain't choose the game, game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophy. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Extra Point. I'm Lauro Antonio. With me today is James Gonzalez and Ben Curse. And normally we do this show every Sunday, but with Wild Card Weekend into Monday, we had to do the show on Monday just for this week. And then next week, after the divisional round week is over, we will move our Extra Point show back to Sunday as well. So I got my panel here today, and Ben, how's it going? How are you doing, my friend? And James, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good. I mean, it might not have been the worst thing to do it because the Pats obviously had a pretty rough one on Saturday. So, but let's just be fair. There's a lot of rough games this weekend outside of the Dallas 49er game. Not a whole lot of action, and the super wild card, the super thing part of wild card weekend shouldn't be really going on. I personally think my personal sake is they add an eighth team. I think just it's been like that for the last couple of years too. It's just the games and stuff just haven't been crazy competitive, which it's unfortunate because this is playoffs and you want to see stuff. But I'm doing good overall, the Loro, and I hope you guys are ready for my rant tonight.
And James, how are you doing? I met the Raiders, good win for the playoffs. Well, we're going to be talking about your game in just a minute here. So how's it going tonight, my friend?
Good. Definitely true about what Ben said about the super wildcard weekend. It was the difference of that. The Raiders just ran out of time, basically, and I felt really no pain when they lost. It was just a chore to even get to the playoffs for the Raiders this season with all the troubles and tribulations they've been through. But we'll get in more to that, Lauro.
Absolutely. So the first game we're going to talk about at Super Wild Card Weekend, let's start with the Raiders and Bengals game and talk about the Cincinnati Bengals getting their first playoff win in 30-plus years since 1991. And I'll tell you guys this. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, this is a special combo in Cincinnati. And Joe Burrow, knowing him being an Ohio kid, I think Joe Burrow is the real deal for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think that the Bengals are going to be good for quite a long time. And I think that they'll probably make it to the AFC Championship game, which I think they'll play Kansas City, which we'll talk about in just a minute here. But my thoughts on the Bengals is that their offense is just clicking right now. Their defense is kind of a question mark, but I think that's going to be a topic of an address for the Cincinnati Bengals here. So we want to welcome also Justin Bosman to the program here. So we got a 4-panel crew here. And James, what was your overall thoughts on the Raiders losing to the Bengals in that wild card game? And if you want to give your thoughts here, I want to give you my take on this. I think Rich Bisaccia should be the full-time head coach of the Raiders.
Yeah, and just before we came on, we spoke about it briefly, and I have a feeling Mark Davis will try to make a big move with the head coaching situation and also the GM position as well. So I don't think they'll take the intern tag off of Rich Bisaccia. I think that was just for this year, see what he could do, and that's it. Hopefully he could just stay on and be the special teams coordinator. Anyway, for the game, it just seemed like the Raiders ran out of time. They had a slight chance of winning coming in my opinion. I thought the game was a microcosm of the season, pretty much. Every game except against the Chiefs was close. And the Bengals, if you recall, they lost to the Bengals in Las Vegas by a good amount. It seems like with Derek Carr, whenever he turns over the ball, they lose the game. no matter which one it is. The defense of the Raiders couldn't stop Jamar Chase. The passes from Burrow, that was just demoralizing to see. Burrow, threw for 2 touchdowns. Even though Chase didn't score a touchdown, he had 116 yards receiving. So it was way too much. The running games didn't do much in the game as well. And I thought that would have been a factor, but I think both defenses really keyed on the running game, but in a way forgot to break up the passes. But late in the game, the Bengals did that. They have a low-key good defense, the Bengals, especially the secondary. They can put some pressure on, knock some balls away. Not much done. You can do more for the Raiders. Like I said, it was a chore to even get to the playoffs. I think in a way they used all their energy to beat the Chargers in overtime in that wild Week 18 game. And, we'll see what happens next season. And the offseason is going to be a wild one. And we've had so many wild off seasons for the Raiders lately. I'm just looking for a consistency and, hopefully a coach that stays around more than 5 or 6 years. So that's my take on it.
And then also, I want to ask you, what's your thoughts on this controversial out-of-bounds play when Joe Burrow stepped out of bounds and then they still called it a touchdown? That was kind of a bad call by the referees there.
Yeah, it always seems like I don't want to be that guy that says, oh, every time we get that umpire, Jerome Booger, the Raiders always seems to get the shaft on that. But it seems like every time he does a game, the Raiders do lose or get a call against them. It's hard to stop the progress of that play. I mean, you had Raiders stopping, thinking, okay, they whistled the play dead or whatnot. It's one of just those plays you can't control it. It just happens, and it turned out to be a big factor in the game. They would have gone to overtime, or who knows, the Raiders could have won. But just another one, another call that goes against the Raiders, I guess.
And then I'll go to you, Ben, on this one. What's your takeaways on the Bengals' first playoff win? And did you think that controversial play that when Joe Burrow stepped out of bounds, the play should have been blown dead instead of it being a touchdown by Tyler Boyd?
First of all, I'd like to congratulate James on a great season. The Raiders went through a lot this year, both on and off the field. And the fact that they were even kind of in position to make the playoffs was pretty impressive. I mean, they had to obviously go through the situation with Henry Ruggs. They had a bunch of other things off the field as well. And I think Derek Carr is a very underappreciated quarterback. He gets into situations where he makes a lot of great throws, but when it comes down to the crunch time, that's when you kind of have to kind of determine, is he up to that next level yet? And I still have the questions of that. Hunter Renfrow is absolutely a guy that I've always wanted from, college. He's just a great player, great playmaker. Darren Waller is obviously one of the best tight ends in football that really I don't think a lot of people give credit for, because you look at guys like Gronk and Kelsey and stuff like that. But I think the biggest thing with the Raiders is just their defense. I basically essentially said that going into this game, and I think that Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase and that connection, it's pretty special. And I was obviously pulling for the Bengals myself because, as you guys said as I told you guys last time, I kind of, if the Patriots kind of really weren't my team, the Bengals were. I mean, I've kind of been through in terms of a lot of their terrible games and their teams and stuff like that in the past. But for the city and stuff, it just felt so good because they just had it so bad for so long. And they finally have the quarterback. They finally have a certain situation with the quarterback. And Zach Taylor, I think a lot of people give a lot of crap for Zach Taylor. And yes, he's definitely had his bad moments here and there. But he made some plays down the stretch where that, he got the job done. And I do also agree with James with the defense of the Bengals. Their defense always seemed to be something that struggled for the past couple of years. And the fact that even though the Raiders had a chance at the end, they made the key stop. and that's the way that they were able to finish. Now, Lower, your question about the out of bounds play, I really didn't really watch it at first because I was coming back actually from work. But when I saw the replay, it was definitely an interesting play call at the time. Um, I probably should have looked at it more into consideration, but it was a continuation, and it just seemed like the officials for that game were pretty controversial. Now I know James. I mean, I've obviously haven't watched a ton of Raider games with the officiating crew, but obviously I would believe you if you watch them with that. But that was tough to obviously see. Go obviously the opposite way of your team, James. But I think it was a great game. It was obviously one of the best games I'd say of the weekend because there really wasn't many competitive ones. And it'll be interesting kind of see. The GM just got fired today from the Raiders, Mike Mayock. That'll be interesting. They obviously have a lot to look forward to. And Lower, you make a good point about the head coach because there was a report out there from me in Rappaport. The future is still uncertain for Derek Carr, and I think that's the biggest thing. Is you're going to look at the QB carousel this offseason, and it would not shock me one bit if Derek Carr's name is in terms of floating around. I don't think he will get moved at all. I think that there's still a pretty good thing going around there in Oakland, but it really depends in terms of the front office and the coaching. Because if your GM gets fired, then obviously it'll depend next on the head coach. So as my cat makes a quick appearance.
I think that Derek Carr is a Raider for life, and I think that he will stay as a Raider. I just think that the new GM and the new head coach will be committed to Derek Carr and to help this Raiders team continue to improve each and every season. So I'm going to go to you, Justin. Welcome to the show here. So what was your takeaways on the Raiders and Bengals game, and also your takeaways on the out of bounds controversial play?
Well, first of all, on the game, it was a heck of a game. Came down to the last play of the game, obviously, it could have gone either way, because the Raiders almost tied the game up. They were this close to tying it up to go to overtime, I think, and they had four or three shots at the end zone, and I almost thought it was gonna get a touchdown because they were this close. I thought that was a flag, but it wasn't a flag. I saw the replay on the call and oh my God, that's a flag. And then the call on the field, I watched the replay. It said it wasn't a flag. I knew it wasn't a flag after that. But my biggest takeaway was how good Joe Burrow was accurate. He was playoff ready that game. Came prepared, I think. And this game, the coach for the Raiders, I can see him staying because he deserves another shot, I thought, because he did what he was asked of him, with John Gruden and everything. And he deserves to stay for another year and be the head coach for a year or two.
Are you talking about Rich Bisaccia?
Yeah, because he did a good job with all the stuff, like the Henry Ruggs thing, the other John Gruden thing, and then they made the playoffs. Helped with the John Madden after John Madden passed away. They made the playoffs, and I could see Derek Carr staying a year. I could see him staying with the Raiders another year, and I could see him either leaving, checking free agency out, testing the waters, and then he might come back for another Raiders year.
Hey, Laura, if you don't mind, is there breaking news button? I'm about to shoot some breaking news, if that's okay.
Yes, go ahead. We'll talk about some breaking news right now.
The Seattle Seahawks have just planned to move on from the defensive coordinator as of right now.
That's good.
Finally.
That's really good.
Ken
Finally,
Norton Jr., they're moving on from it. That's a huge win for Seattle, as obviously their front office situation. The uncertainty with Russell Wilson is still into play, even though as me and Laura have obviously had our off talks about if he'll stay or not. But that's a huge move for Seattle because they've just gone through a ton of just bad stuff in their defense. And it's not been the same ever since the Legion of Boom. So I just want to flood you guys with that breaking news that just
That
popped
guy
up.
deserves to be fired.
Yep.
All right. So, anyways, folks, the next game we're going to be talking about is the Patriots got embarrassed by the Buffalo Bills. But a lot of people were saying something like, was the 2021 season a failure for the New England Patriots? It's not. I just think that Mac Jones had a really good season. He hit the rookie role at the wrong time. This team went through growing pains with Mac Jones. But I feel like that there's things that the Patriots have to address this offseason, like number one receiver, get a better defense, get a quicker defense. There's going to be futures uncertain for guys like Dante Hightower, who might not be back. Devin McCourty, I could see him being back as well. And just have to get younger in some positions, and I think that the Patriots will be good to go here. I'm going to start with Ben on this one. So the Patriots lost to the Bills 47-27. And we thought that the Patriots would come into Buffalo, get the upset win, but it just did not happen. But despite the loss, this Patriot team has such a bright future.
Well, if you guys are ready. So as I woke up today, I felt it was yesterday. I was a little disappointed. I really was just like, you know what, the season's over. But I look back, I was listening to Boston Radio this morning, and it's just like, all right, I really have to kind of say something on here tonight. So I'm going to get blood drawn, and obviously that stuff's not fun at all. But I'm still thinking when I'm getting there, I'm like, what I'm going to say for my rant about this team and the effort of how bad they finished off their season. All right. I agree with Rower in the fact Mac Jones had a great rookie year. This is obviously the great start to a potential next couple great years with this team. They got a ton of money in the offseason. They addressed a bunch of needs here and there. But that 7-game winning streak obviously was great. But since the bye week, I don't know what happened. I knew that 3 of the 4 games, you could say, well, they beat the Jaguars. Well, first of all, the Jaguars are like 2 wins. Sure, they beat the Buffalo Bills. But I thought the Patriots, maybe for a week after Miami, maybe would switch something. And the fact that the Patriots – I'm not really upset with the way the Patriots lost. Well, maybe I am. The effort was embarrassing. They put up how many points in Foxborough a couple weeks ago? And you look at this, and they didn't have to punt again with a Bill Belichick defense. And I'm watching this game, and now I realize why Buffalo has been so frustrated with our team. And I respect that in a way. But they took out 20 years of frustration, and there was no adjustments in this game. Lots of, just 7-8 yards on a first down from Josh Allen. Second down. A lot of 2nd and 3s. Like, where's the effort? I saw nothing. The fact that they finished off this season just pathetic and terribly bad. And, obviously it's very hard to basically put on Mac Jones with his embarrassment at the end because he actually was one that showed up and cared. Kendrick Bourne had 2 touchdowns and cared. But that whole defense, where was it? Nothing to be found. Jonnu Smith, great disappointment his first year. He did absolutely nothing. The Buffalo Bills just could do everything they want. It felt like a varsity team against a JV team. And I just think that people could say from the Patriots, we've gotten you guys for so long. The talk's over. They have our number now. And as painful as me to say, Josh Allen is the real deal. And I've known that for so long. And, Patriot fans are coming at me here and there saying, oh, Josh Allen, he can't play in cold weather. He literally just put up 47 points on a top 5 ranked defense. And he shut us up. He shut everybody up. And Stephon Diggs, their top receiver, only had 3 catches. Their balanced attack, honestly, it's impressive. But the Patriots, it was just – they had a good season. It just sucks the way it kind of finished off against the better teams. And the fact is, I agree with Rowe. They got to get faster. Their defense was too slow on the outside. You got to get some guys in the draft. I think some guys in the draft. This is obviously not the old, typical Patriots where, Tom Brady could obviously bail you out if you have some old guys. No, it's just hard to put on for Mac Jones, a rookie, to be behind in a ton of these games and for him to try to come back in it. It's just unfair. It's nothing to knock on Mac Jones. And Buffalo's defense has played so much better since the last couple times we faced them. They've just their identity's changed, and it would not surprise me one bit if they do the exact same thing against the Kansas City Chiefs, because I don't know how much I really trust that Chiefs defense. I think the Chiefs defense is very beautiful. So obviously don't want to come on here tonight and, obviously just go at it like crazy. But I wanted to kind of get it off my chest because I really care about this team. And, obviously could take the losing. I could take it. It's just the frustrating way of the effort at the end of the season where it just felt like there could have been a little bit more to it. If they lost like 2017, even by 2 scores, it wasn't even a 2-score loss. It was 47, like 30-point loss. I mean, that's embarrassing.
30.
It's in a playoff game. I just felt like, it could have been a week to kind of regroup and stuff. It just seemed like players are defeated. There was no energy on the sideline. I don't know. I'm ready for next season. I'm ready to see what things will change. They need to get faster, and they need to get a wide receiver number 1. But it was just disappointing. I do congratulate Buffalo. They smacked us in the mouth, and they deserve every bit of it because we've been their daddies for so long. It's time for us to have the other end.
Well, I mean, Ben, I'll tell you what. I mean, it was a good season for the Patriots. I thought Mac Jones cared, played well throughout this game, made corrections, made adjustments. But like you said, Ben, I was not too pleased. When I called that game on Colorcast, I was not too pleased with how the Patriots were playing defensively. They showed no effort, like you said. They showed no tenacity, no toughness. But they also they just didn't show up. They didn't even care. They just made Josh Allen play like an MVP. And like we said, this team, they got to get younger defensively. Like, I'd like to keep guys like Dante Hightower and Devin McCourty back, but if it's about getting younger, then get younger right now and get some younger defenders around Mac Jones. And obviously, Ben, we'll talk about this on Lower and Friends when we set up a time to recap the season and all that.
And one more thing to make it even more embarrassing. Josh Allen was asked about the first touchdown of the game where it looked like it was a throwaway. He basically just had to hear the crowd because he didn't feel like that was going to be a touchdown. He said in person afterwards he thought that was just going to be a throwaway, and look what happened. So I just knew from that part, the punter didn't have to punt 2 games against a Bill Belichick defense. Just think about that. One of the greatest defensive-minded coaches in NFL history, and you have back-to-back outings against that Buffalo team. They don't scare Bill Belichick. Josh Allen does not scare Bill Belichick anymore, and that's a big concern. And I think that's part of it. We got to get faster on defense. This Josh Allen, man, he's definitely something to watch out for. People could talk about Mahomes and all this. I knew with Josh Allen just has to get that number 1 receiver and a bunch of guys on the outside. He just has – it's all about here. And, if we have to see next week, if you can go to Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs, I'm going to take him more seriously because I'm already taking him seriously now. He could definitely beat us for sure.
Yeah, and then there was also a touching moment there that I saw a video before coming on air, Ben, that Damian Harris was hugging running backs coach Ivan Fears. I don't know if you saw that.
That was great. I did see it. Yep.
He probably is going to be retiring, but if he does retire, Ivan Fears is by far one of the best running backs coaches in Patriots history.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I know I had a little bit of part of the rant, but I do have to say that it was a great season overall.
Much better than it was in 2020, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about the baby steps, and I've also realized to a bunch of people of how spoiled we've been, Laura and Justin. We've been spoiled, and it's just like we've never really encountered the feeling of kind of just being on lopsided losses. I mean, here and there, the only one in the playoffs that have looked like it's a lopsided was in the race game against Baltimore. That was a terrible one. And I hear these people say, "Oh, the way the Patriots defense played, maybe Brady could have won that game." No, there was nothing. No matter who was out there, this and that, it was the defense. The defense looked like they didn't want to get off the bus. It was that bad.
All right,
Zipper.
Justin, I'll go to you next on this one. So, what was your overall takeaways on the Patriots and Bills game?
So
I bet you, but I really think that this was a disappointing effort by the Patriots on the defensive end. But
yeah,
Mac Jones played like he cared all game.
yeah, so Steve Belichick, I don't like his game plan. I don't like him as like a coaching staff. Like I know how kids become coaches in the game. Like I don't like you know how the kids become coaches in the game. I don't like how he coaches Steve Belichick. Like he's not a good coach. But second off, I don't like his coaching style. I can see them getting Brian Flores back in the Patriots as a defensive coordinator. I could see him. I could see that happening. And I can see in the game, the best part for the Patriots was the kicking game and the punting sucked. I'm just saying that right now. Jake Bailey has to do better punts. Man, I'm just sorry. He sucks at punting. And Brandon Bolden has to catch those balls. Like he's a good he's supposed to be a third down back or something like that. He needs to catch those. That's he's go-to guy. He's like Kevin Falk. He has to catch those balls. And I think Brian Flores can, if he's a defensive coordinator, can take over this defense. And I can see James White leaving to go to the Buccaneers next year.
I don't know about that, but
Because
that's what
I'm hearing on the rumors. There's lots of rumors going around about that. And either defensive lineman or wide receiver in the draft ago. And I can see we have to re-sign J.C. Jackson. That's going to be hard to do in the draft. I mean, in the offseason, that's going to be hard. He wants a lot of money. I can see him leaving for more money, just like Malcolm Butler did and like Gilmore did, because Bill Belichick doesn't like paying his like top tier players a lot. And Barmore, he was injured. I remember one of his tackles. He had Josh Allen, and he couldn't get him because he was injured this whole game. Like he was injured last game against the Dolphins. Barmore, the best player for like the rookies, and Dante Hightower, I think he needs to call it a career because I don't think he stepped away from the game last year, and I don't think he was all that there this year. Like the best part about him was just the Super Bowls that he did, but I don't see him playing next year. I see him retiring. And Matthew Slater didn't play in this year. And we missed Jalen Mills. Jalen Mills wasn't playing in this game. And we missed him badly because he could have covered another receiver, I think, Jalen Mills, because he had a good year this year, I think. Like average at best, Jalen Mills. He was okay. He got beat in those Cowboys games, but he was okay at covering. But and also Ramondre Stevenson, I would like to see him as the starting running back because earlier in the season, Bill Belichick dropped him because he fumbled lots of balls, and he put in like Jason Taylor, and then he fumbled again. I can see Ramondre Stevenson being the star running back next year for the Patriots. And
I think him and Damian Harris will probably be the stars. So
and Danny Amendola should be coming back next year. I hope so.
Maybe so. So, anyways, with that being said, I'm going to go to James on this one. We had Isaiah with us here, but he's off for a minute here. So, what's your overall thoughts on the Patriots here in their loss against the Bills?
Yeah, quickly, you guys, congrats on the season that the Patriots, had first place, made the playoffs. Some congrats to that. Congrats to Mac Jones. Only a rookie, but he put up some good numbers. I think he showed that he can play in this league. There's no doubt about it. For the game, though, it seemed like there was no running game, no defense. I think Ben, definitely ranted well about that.
Thank you.
The one guy that I was hoping the Patriots would go to more was Nelson Aguilar. He was with the Raiders in 2020, and he would always catch the deep passes. And he was one guy that, had that heart and had that, fire and desire to play. And he only caught one pass yesterday for 18 yards. And that seemed to be the theme, all season long, other from a few games early, I guess. But, Bourne, Myers did well this season. Stevenson, Harris, they were all really good. It's a tough task winning at Buffalo. You could say definitely, like Ben said, the division is now Buffalo's until it's regained by New England. You can't see the Jets. I don't know which direction the Dolphins are going right now, but it's Buffalo's until New England can get it back. So, again, guys, great season. I think definitely overachieved everybody's expectations. They thought, oh, well, they'll probably be like 2020 again. But they proved everybody wrong in that aspect. So that's all I got.
James, I also have to bounce off you in terms of Nelson Aguilar. I personally think he's a good possession guy. But the biggest thing I think for Mac Jones is they need to get an explosive guy. I think that Nelson Aguilar is a very good possession guy that can go deep. That could basically essentially say to the defense, we need to basically have somebody to take away. But I look at teams like the Chiefs, and you look at teams like Buffalo with Diggs. You need to basically get a game breaker like Bengals with Chase and stuff like that. I really want to see them trade up for a guy like Calvin Ridley or a guy like Michael Gallup or a guy like, Devontae Adams and Chris Scott. I mean, Chris Scott obviously would be my dream. Allen Robinson, I think, could be the most, if they obviously want to pay crazy enough for a big-time guy, they need to get somebody like that. And then you add somebody in the draft via receiver. I think, two of the Alabama guys, Jamison Williams or John Mechie, guys that are familiar with Mac Jones, but you also have to get another guy on the outside of receiver.
Yeah.
Just because that way it'll progress in terms of Mac's development. And if Mac can't basically go in the next step with a lot of premier guys around him, then, the quarterback's obviously going to have to reassess the situation next year, which I think would be the worst case scenario for the Patriots, because I think that they're believing in this guy. Belichick is getting up there in age. He doesn't obviously want to look at somebody else after drafting a guy in the first round this past year. So, you want to basically put as much talent around him, top to bottom, and the talent just lacked a lot this year. And it showed big time against the better teams down the stretch. So, if they get some big time players on the outside for Mac Jones and you add somebody via the draft, that's where you can definitely progress and kind of see, oh, now we have to kind of take away this certain type of player. And I think that'll definitely help, especially when you have a good running attack like we do.
I personally thought you mentioned Ben Geno Smith and how poorly he did. You can add Hunter Henry in that too. If there is a tight end out there via free agency or in the draft, I think that would open up things as well. Because you mentioned teams like the Chiefs, the 49ers, the Raiders, among others that have, really good tight ends and their offenses really bank on them. Well, that would open up things even more if the Patriots had an explosive tight end. That's what I was thinking after the game.
What I do have to agree to disagree in a way with you. I think Jonnu Smith, personally, I think was a very big disappointment, but I also think for a lot of first-time guys that just come in, it's getting used to the New England playbook. And I think that a lot of first-year guys have a hard time getting adjusted. I think that Jonnu was one guy that had a hard time getting adjusted with this playbook. They used him a lot of kind of, the Gronk Hernandez days. Hernandez would use a lot of the jet sweeps and stuff like that. And Gronk would be kind of more of the blocking, going out for passes type. Jonnu Smith this past year with the Tennessee Titans, I think, had between 6 to 7 touchdowns. If you see a dynamic Jonnu Smith next year with some premier receiver talent on the outside with a great running game, Hunter Henry was an absolute monster in the goal line situations this past year. That was one guy I really liked down there. You have something now cooking. You basically have to start looking at now this Patriots team with the way that their defense is. As Justin was saying, J.C. Jackson's going to be a big hot commodity. You take away him, this secondary is going to be in huge trouble. Because we saw what teams like Buffalo just did, shredded basically a depleted secondary.
You were
That
missing
needs
Jalen
that
Mills,
needs
too.
to definitely need some help. As Jalen Mills would be a great help, Justin, I don't really think it would have mattered in a game like this. I really just think that our defense was just so flat from top to bottom. There's no flow at all in this game. It just felt like football is a game of runs, and it's a game in terms of staying on your course with time. And I think that they went 7 drives. They had 7 touchdowns, and I think that time possession, they had like between 5 to 7 minutes each. So they basically went boom, 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 boom. They just went right down the field. And that's one thing about Bills fans that they were telling me about, was Sean McDermott would get conservative, went up. He basically put the pedal to the metal and said, we're not going to let a team like Bill Belichick have any type of life. We're going to go in and smack them in the mouth, and that's what they unfortunately did to us.
All right, folks. So, anyways, now moving on to the Sunday games. Let's start with talking about the Eagles and Buccaneers game. Not much to talk about here, but Tom Brady and the Buccaneers did what they had to do against the Eagles. But for the Eagles, they have such a bright future with quarterback Jalen Hurts under center. And I'm going to start with you, Ben, on this one. What was your thoughts on the Bucs blowout win over the Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, that was one out of 3 other games that were just total snooze fests, I guess you can say. As much as I love my guy Tom, as James is putting the snooze on his arm right there. I think, yeah. I
Can't believe I woke up for that.
This was obviously a game where I thought the weather would be a big impact, but there was literally like no rain at all in this game. So obviously that changed when I saw that was sun. Oh, yeah, going to Tampa Bay, Eagles going down south. I like the chance for Tampa. Brady was a little off early. I'm not going to lie, he was a little bit off. But once you started getting timing of the running game, Gio Bernard was a big time player in this game. Their offensive line is definitely going to be a little bit worrisome next week against the Rams. And I know we'll get into that in a bit, but Ryan Jensen and Tristan Wirfs, 2 of their key guys that Tom loves, their right tackle and their center, were a little bit banged up in this game. So that'll be interesting because you need those guys healthy against that stout front from the Rams. That'll obviously be a big impact in terms of my pick. Right now, I still have Tampa because it's at their place. I think I did pick the Rams when Tampa went to the Rams earlier in this season. But Tom really started to get things going. That Eagles team, their defense was definitely getting used a lot. Jalen Hurts, Lauro, is he the answer down the stretch? Maybe so. He definitely was trying to do a lot of extension plays like Tom did, but he threw over guys so many times. He would get into some rhythms with guys like Dallas Goedert, which is a really good tight end, by the way. Devontae Smith was yelling at his guys. Jalen Reagor was a total bust of a receiver. He actually had a muffed punt where, if you have a muffed punt when you're down in the game like that, you don't give Tom Brady the ball at the 50-yard line. You just don't. I think there's many teams that you basically say, if you give a team like Tom Brady in the playoffs the ball, you're going to ask for trouble. I think the play right after that happened, he threw that touchdown to Mike Evans, and it was game over. I mean, it was game over at the point, but Brady's just like, listen, I'm just going to just put it away like that. And, the Eagles kind of middle come back to the fourth. Maybe it's like a cover spread type of thing, sports betting or whatever. Oh, yeah. We definitely hold the under on the amount of points that the Eagles were going to score in that. But it definitely wasn't close from top to bottom. I thought this was a mismatch coming in. I think there was a good matchup for Brady, even though that the Eagles played our Patriots with Brady and they lost, but Brady threw for 500 yards. It wasn't Tom's fault that they lost to the Eagles team. Tom always has great success, I think, on the Eagles defenses, and it showed in this game. I think Nick Sirianni, to be fair, is a good coach. He came into a really tough position going to Tom Brady led team, and Rob Gronkowski had another touchdown, and that's one of any more added on to a Brady Gronk postseason combination, which is just, take away my Boston ever. It's one of the best that we'll ever see. So it's a good one for the Bucs, but their challenges next week against the Rams, and obviously, we'll see how it goes. But good for Tom.
And Justin, I'll go to you on this one. Not much to talk about in this game, but Tom Brady being Tom Brady in the playoffs.
My only question is, why is Tom Brady in the game in the fourth quarter? That's all I want to know. And because
Bruce Arians doesn't care about his players.
And AB always said he's Tom Brady's the coach, the GM, the owner.
But
AB was right in this situation. Remember, Justin, when Chris Coerce went down, he went into the tunnel, and then he came back out to the game, and the first possession where he came back, he gave up a sack to Ryan Kerrigan. He was limping the whole entire time. You do not put out your right tackle that is one of your best players and try to get him more hurt. That's what Antonio Brown was talking about. He was talking about he's basically trying to pressure people to go into the game playing hurt. That shouldn't happen.
they should have played Blaine Gabbert to rest Brady for the rest of the games. But besides that point, I think Gronk. I don't know why he doesn't get double teams at all anymore. I think next week he's probably going to get double teamed. I'm not so sure about that. But I believe that I feel sorry for Devontae Smith. I just do because he's in a bad situation. Because I can see him coming to Patriots if we trade for him probably. And I want to see why you don't freaking
I can't hear you, Justin. What were you saying?
Audible.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to you, James, on this one. What's your thoughts on the Eagles? Losing to Tampa Bay and Tom Brady.
Well, on my notes, Ben literally said everything I was going to say. I can just say Mike Evans balled out for 9 receptions, 117 yards, and an easy touchdown. The key going into next week for Tampa is their offensive line issues. With Jalen Hurts, it seemed like he finally looked for his receivers or caught them in the second half. But first half, man, he was making on Dallas Goedert, but too much to the fact that everybody knew that Dallas was getting the ball. So Hurts, going into his third year next season, is going to have to do better. And, the future somewhat is bright as long as everybody gets fed. I was hoping the Eagles' running game was going to be a little better, but Miles Sanders coming back from his injury, he didn't run it so well, and then Boston Scott didn't do as well. He did score a touchdown, but that was a simple win, and I should have did something else instead of watch the first half and third quarter of that.
James, to make it even better, I was so embarrassed about my Patriots team. I was enjoying more of petting my cat in the fourth quarter than watching that game in the fourth quarter. That's as a diehard fan myself to have that more enjoyable for that just says it all in terms of how bad
I enjoyed the pain that the Eagles had for that game because Tom Brady got his revenge for what they did in the Super Bowl finally, and I love that for Brady, like getting his revenge.
Wish it was against Nick Foles though, because Foles.
But he got his revenge in this game. I think Levante David, the defense played lights out. The Buccaneers.
Defense. They got a bunch of guys back. That's why Justin, you kind of see what a bunch of reinforcements that are key guys back. Shaq Barrett, JPP. I don't know if JPP was one of those guys. Shaq Barrett, Levante David, at least. Just watch out for Leonard Fournette next week. If he can come back, that sets up so much for Tom. Because Fournette is a key guy. He's one of your top backs and one of your top reception guys when you take a guy out like Chris Godwin. I mean, he's just such a key guy out there for him.
And then Bruce Arians, I don't think he's a good coach at all.
That's Justin. You can message me about that. I'll have my own thoughts about that. I agree, but Arians has basically played for 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. He's played for Brady and Manning. So essentially, he's basically hasn't had to do a lot besides kind of just being on the sideline, wearing his little scallion cap, or you guess you can say, and just basically say, go out and do what you want to do. So,
all right. Anyways, with that being said here now, let's talk about the Cowboys and the 49ers matchup. I mean, if Isaiah was on there, he would be already saying how about his 49ers? So I definitely want to play something for Isaiah right here. So, I mean, if you're watching Isaiah, this is for you on the Niners victory over the Dallas Cowboys.
Woo! Woo! How about them Niners, baby? Turn it up, DJ. Turn it up. Turn it up. Come on, turn it up, DJ. Woo! That's right, Jay-Z. Guess who's back? The Niners are back. We back.
Oh boy,
Jay-Z.
that was Eminem, Isaiah.
What's up, guys? What's going on?
Hey.
Great to be with
Isaiah,
you guys.
Isaiah, I hope you're all well. You missed my rant, by the way, earlier. So
Well, I caught part of it. While I was watching the show at work. But yeah, man. Sorry about your Patriots, man.
hey, you're good, man.
Of course.
I heard you. I've heard a Niner rant before you in the past. So I'm like, you know what? I got to really express that after that disaster. As I was telling the others, I had more enjoyable in the fourth quarter of the Patriot game petting my cat than watching the actual game.
And Isaiah, I mean, I'm going to start with you first on this one. What a win for the 49ers. And they beat the Cowboys. But talk about an unfortunate, unlucky play for the Cowboys that Dak Prescott thought he spiked the ball, but the refs didn't even put time on the clock. And it kind of tells you something about Mike McCarthy being a bad clock manager here. And I'm going to start with you first on this, Isaiah. What was your thoughts on this game for the Niners' improbable win over the Cowboys?
So my thoughts on it is my name. How about them Cowboys, baby? What an absolutely dumb play call by Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy, and also by Dak Prescott. You know, whenever Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, and also Kellen Moore, whenever they come to the Bay Area, I don't think that they need to pay for their meal or their drink ever again, because after that awesome play call, for me anyways, that was an awesome play call by Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore. I mean, that basically sealed the game for the 49ers. I mean, when you look at this game, I thought that the Niners were going to choke this game away. I mean, they were up 23-7. I think me and probably the rest of the world thought this game was over in the fourth quarter. And then the Cowboys came storming back. And then, you know, the Niners had a chance to put this game away, but Jimmy Garoppolo, he airmails Trent Sherfield, who was wide open, and then you see that it gets picked off. Cowboys return it. Dak Prescott scores a touchdown, and the Cowboys, they're in range to win the game. And then what happened is the Niners had a chance to put this game away. It was like fourth and inches from like mid. It was like fourth and inches from like the Dallas 40-something. Jimmy Garoppolo, quarterback sneak, he gets it, but there's a flag. And then it's like 4th and 6 because the Niners false started. They have to punt the ball. Yeah, Trent Williams. They have to put the ball away. And then I was literally watching the game while I was at work. because there was like nobody, no customers. So I was watching the game while I was at work, and let me tell you guys this: I nearly pissed my pants at work. I nearly peed in my store that I was manning because that's how nerve-wracking I was. Like my supervisor came in to check on me, and she was like, "Isaiah, why are you like sweat, like all wet? Why is your back all wet?" And I was like, "Yeah, that was because I was literally sweating so much from this
man.
game, from the end of that game. It was such a crazy ending. It was an insane ending. The Cowboys and the fans, they can't blame the refs for losing this game because, yeah, you know, the refs, they have a job to do. It's the rule of the game. I mean, we've been knowing that for ever since football existed, that once a play is over, you have to give the ball to the ref to set the marker. You can't just, you know, set the marker yourself. That's not how it works. So I knew that, you know, when that happened, that the game was over because that the Cowboys, even if you give them one more play, or they would have spiked it. If they give the ball to the ref, he puts it down, they spike it. It's 1 second left. You spike it with 1 second left, you're gonna have 0 seconds left in the ball game. So the Cowboys and their fans, what they should do is they should blame Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore for the dumbest play call in NFL history. Like, really? Or it's like you have the football at the 49ers 45-yard line, and you're going to run a quarterback draw with 14 seconds left. You have no timeouts. Everybody knows in that situation, you don't run any play towards the middle of the field. What you do is try to attack the sidelines, or you just throw a Hail Mary. And I don't know what happened. I don't know why the Cowboys decided to run a quarterback draw. I guess they were trying to outsmart the 49ers. Well, guess what? You outsmarted yourself, and now you look like the dumbest idiots on the face of the earth.
So Isaiah, I got to say something. At work today, I was actually with the Cowboys fan that's a coworker of mine, and I told him, I said, so what is Dak Prescott and Matt McCarthy thinking of this botched at the end? And he's like, listen, man, the pain of being a Cowboys fan is insufferable. I told him, Tom Brady has won more postseason games with a new team than the amount of Cowboy wins I think they've had in like the last, like, I don't know, 5-10 years. Which is just, they always seem, that's why I never pick against them. I'm just like, going into this game, I knew the Niners just had it. Even as much as they wanted to give it away, the Cowboys just find a way to just do what they can to just give it up. It's an embarrassment for them because they have all the talent in the world. And I do have to worry about the Niners on next week, Isaiah, because, you know, the way that they kind of finished that game, it looked like the game was over early. And, you know, Deebo Samuel, I'm so jealous of the guy. I love the guy. I wish he was a Patriot. He obviously, he's just a monster. But the biggest thing about that ending was the Cowboys had 3 straight passes at the end. And then they decided to do a QB draw, like you said. I still understand the play call, but if you're going to do that, you can't go 15 yards down the field running it. You got to go maybe 5 or 10, just spike it, because you still have some time to throw another part of Hail Mary. My dad was looking at me just when it came to the point at the end, he's just like, oh, here comes Hail Mary. And then after that play happened, when they just ran it, we looked at each other and we just were dying laughing. I'm like, listen, I don't understand that, and that's what you should get fired for.
Well, absolutely, and also, you know, back to your point about the Niners beating the Cowboys. I thought the Niners were going to win just because I didn't think that Dallas had faced a team as physical as the 49ers have all season long. So I kind of thought that, could Dallas handle the physicality both on offense and defense that the Niners bring to the table? And, you know, you looked at that game, and the first 3 quarters of that game, Dallas couldn't handle it whatsoever. They were getting pushed around both offensively and defensively. And, you know, I agree. It shouldn't have come down to that, you know, terrible play call by Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy towards that very end. But, I mean, the Niners, they got to do better. You know, they got to do better closing games. Like, this is not just the first time that it's been like this. It's been like this under Kyle Shanahan, that they just have trouble closing games when it matters the most. But about like looking ahead to Green Bay, I think the reason why the Niners, I think, have a chance in this game is because of the conditions. It's expected to be like super cold. I think the temperature at kickoff is going to be like 7 degrees with a wind chill of like -1 or -2, something like that. Plus, there's a possibility that it could snow. It could snow at Lambeau Field, and you guys know that those conditions, the best way to win in those conditions is not by passing the football like 50, 60 times. You're going to not be able to pass the football whatsoever. You're going to have to be able to run the football, be physical at the line of scrimmage, and whoever has the best, whoever can play the best defense, whoever can play good, or whoever can have a great running game in this game is going to win this game. So that's why I think the Niners have a chance, just because I think the conditions favor the type of game that the Niners want to play.
I mean, that's a good point that you got here, but we want to welcome John Alcorn to the show. John, how's it going? And tell us your thoughts on the Niners beating the Cowboys.
Dak Prescott's not a franchise quarterback. That, to me, answered the point. Now, they're stuck with him, so I'm not here to be like Skip Bayless, who, to me, is the worst sports broadcaster, and lost respect for him for what he said about Prescott 2 years ago. But the fact is, you can say, the ref, he couldn't get to the ball in time. The ref was all the way back there, and Dak Prescott struggling for it. What am I supposed to do? Your dumbass self doesn't get the ball to the center. You give it to the umpire to maybe have a chance. 3 things I give fault for. It is, number one, Mike McCarthy, the same thing we've talked about all year. Time management. Something we teach our teenagers to figure out. That a teenager can figure out better than Mike McCarthy could. The offensive play calling. There's no way in anyone's VeggieTales green earth you should be running a running play, 14 seconds left, no timeouts. How stupid do you have to be? You had 3 straight plays of over 10 yards, and every single play was a first down. So that was awesome. But then you go towards the last play or two, and you're like, let's go. What worked out? Let's do the exact opposite. And that's the same advice we get when we say, listen to Isaiah's takes, do the exact opposite. And you run a play with 14 seconds left. It doesn't make any sense. I get that was frustrating. That was probably one of the more tragic ends I've seen in playoff history the past couple of years, but Dak Prescott's not a franchise quarterback, and they still had a chance to come back in this game, despite Dak Prescott being an inaccurate quarterback. And Tony Pollard, this is the same thing we've had since he got drafted. When Ezekiel Elliott doesn't get it done, or he's not on the field, you give the ball to Pollard. Tony Pollard only had 4 carries in this game. Mike McCarthy needs to be gone. Offensive play caller needs to be gone, because you do not give him only 4 carries and run the ball 14 seconds left with no timeouts. That was beyond stupid.
And then I'll go to James on this one here. What's your thoughts on the Cowboys' loss to the 49ers?
Well, first of all, San Francisco had a great first half, and then they let up in the second. I'm kind of wondering about Jimmy G, because not only did he have the thumb injury, now he has a separated shoulder, but I think he'll be ready to go. The telling thing about the crowd, you could definitely tell 49er fans flew in from wherever to AT&T Stadium, and the red was certainly there, no matter how much the Cowboys wanted to white out the place. To me, for the Cowboys, the offense never really showed up. The stats I'm thinking of, the running game was just not even there, honestly. Prescott had 27 yards and the lone touchdown, but Elliott only had 31 yards. Pollard only had 14. It's a testament to the 49er defense. We'll see how Nick Bosa comes back and Fred Warner. Those are going to be 2 big losses, obviously. To me, and 2 other things, the stadium issues. When they opened that place up in 2009, they had that side open where the sun goes down. it just doesn't make sense to me because Wilson couldn't see the ball coming at him. That was just horrible. And then they made the scoreboard so low that you could punt the ball and hit it. Those are two things about the stadium that don't make sense. And then not one, not twice, not one, not two, but 3 times that referee came in and had to delay things with the football for Dak Prescott. So that was weird to see. That last play for Dak Prescott, I think he acted on his own. I think they had a pass play ready, but I think Dak just acted on his own to run the ball like that. And obviously that's my opinion, but I just couldn't believe that. It didn't make sense to me. And also, the 49ers winning the game, it was amazing because Kittle only had 1 catch for 18 yards. I thought he would have had a bigger impact in the game, but I think the Cowboys were square on him to stop him. Micah Parsons didn't do a good job as well defensively. But I got to say, Jennings for the 49ers, the receiver, he had 3 big third down conversions in that game that led the 49ers on drives for points. And Robbie Good as Gold did well. And, shout out to the Niners winning that game. Definitely had the fans there. And, congrats to Isaiah. Sucks for, Christy Wilson, all the other Cowboy fans out there. They have to go through another season of what could have been. You have all the talent. You have all the pressure on you too, and you have the eyes of Jerry Jones on you as well, and all of his family up in the suite. But just shout out to the 49ers for pulling that out, even though they led up in the second half.
And then Ben and Justin, I'll get to you on this one. I'll start with you, Ben. What was your takeaways on the Niners-Cowboys game? And talk about Mike McCarthy again making a boneheaded mistake with clock management.
The guy should be fired tomorrow. There's no excuse. And I think John basically nailed it, in terms of everything I wanted to say with it. You put 3 straight passes for about 5-10 yards. You're doing a pretty good methodical drive there. And then you got to think in your mind, you have no timeouts at the time. So, basically you had 2 changes for Hail Mary. But instead, you decided to run a QB draw. And not only you ran the QB draw, you went in the middle of the field where you have no time to basically, it's not like you have the QB draw and, you can get back and start another play. You're on the clock, boom, boom, boom. And it could have been a second of potentially throwing it into the end zone, and then anything could have happened there. Anything could have happened if you just had a little bit of a spike. And like John said, you have to give the ball to the referee in that certain situation. I see a ton of Cowboys fans whining online in terms of, the ref got in the way. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any certain type of thing because, first of all, you shouldn't even been in the position to win the game in the first place. You got outplayed in the first 3 quarters. Yes, you could say, well, you came back and stuff. Jimmy Garoppolo just has to has to not turn the football over. Essentially, you turn the football over, you give the momentum back, but you weren't in the whole entire position in terms of potentially winning this game. And it was crazy enough that they had almost a chance to win that game at the end. But instead, you're looking at it, the coaching actually matters in the playoffs. And it actually will show in terms of who will go farther into the playoffs when you have better coaching. Mike McCarthy, known for not great coaching when it comes to the times that matters. And that is a true example of not what you want to do down the stretch of a game. I agree with John. Mike McCarthy should be on the hot seat. That's something maybe worse than something maybe even Matt Nagy would do. And that's saying a lot. And that might be a big hot take for me because Matt Nagy is terrible. Terrible. But I don't even know if he would do it that bad. It might be in that certain situation of bad. Joe Judge ran a QB sneak in his final game with the New York Giants on a 3rd and 9. but this is a playoff game, and just it's idiotic in the fact. In terms of the game, so I talk really about the last play a lot. Then the Niners are going to have to really worry next week in terms of their clock management. In terms of not giving it back the game, because you give the momentum back in a game like Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay, you're not getting that game. You're not taking that game. The Cowboys were this close in terms of taking the game away from the Niners, where essentially they dominated for 3.5 quarters of that game. So, Isaiah, in terms of his team, yes, they have a chance to go in and win. As James was saying, they really need Nick Bosa and Fred Warner in this game to have a chance. But, it'll come to quarterback play at the end, too. And Jimmy just worries me. He just worries me in terms of making that key mistake. And, you're going to have to really play clean football against a team like Green Bay. They're the most consistent team I've seen all year. As Isaiah said, well, the colder weather's going to happen. You look at what Josh Allen just did in the colder weather. People could say, well, he hasn't played great in cold weather. Aaron Rodgers, that cold weather means nothing to him. He's played in that like crazy. That's a frozen tundra for a reason. I think he'll be going and playing great. I'm not saying that Isaiah's team's going to get, being around and stuff. But it's just the matchup is unfair. I mean, you have Rodgers compared to Garoppolo. I think Matt LaFleur's a good overall coach, or Michael. I always get them all mixed up. Besides that, in the NFC title game, the situation there, Rodgers running the football, actually throwing the football right in the wide open running touchdown at the end of that game. That was the only really kind of problem I had with him. But he's a good coach, I think, overall. But into that football game overall, the Niners definitely deserved it. They probably deserved it in a way they shouldn't have needed to win in a way like that. But the Cowboys coach should be fired on the hot seat. And the comments too, which made even a terrible look. I don't know if you guys have heard it. He essentially said that was the best play call in that certain situation. He thought that was the best play call essentially to run a QB draw with 14 seconds left. I think everybody else should think, well, yeah, you're just asking to be fired. I mean, there's no other explanation. Kellen Moore too, John, I do agree as well. That is definitely something that I think teams will definitely look out for in new OC. He's definitely been very conservative, I think, with that offense for Dallas. Not using Tony Pollard, I definitely agree with as well. He is the more explosive back now at this point in time, essentially because Zeke got hurt. He hasn't been the same guy since. But yeah, there's a lot obviously to take away from that game. There's the most exciting game from top to finish. Obviously the bizarre ending, which it's one of the most bizarrest endings I think I've ever seen in a playoff game. But it was a good one, and it was obviously a much needed type of game to watch after kind of a lot of the lopsided other ones. So. Hey, Laura. I don't know if
I think he's frozen. Well, anyway, yeah. I thought, that was going to happen. Like I said, I thought Dak called it on his own. But what's your take, Justin, on the game that was San Francisco Dallas?
I watched the game on Nickelodeon, which was so crazy. The kickcasters, some of the kickcasters were casting it, and some of them were good, some of them were not good. They compared Zeke Elliott to Sonic the Hedgehog, which I don't know why you would compare Zeke to Sonic the Hedgehog. But anyways, for the game, Jimmy G almost gave the game away to the Cowboys, and I don't know why you don't run it there when you're up by a lot. Like, I don't. Just like when the Mac Jones interception against the Cowboys, just run it or something like that.
I agree with you, Justin, because their defense was basically making a lot of timely plays. You give one little mistake, something like that, it changes the whole entire momentum. You want to kill clock, and that's the worst case scenario that Jimmy G has to do it, and that will definitely hurt them down the stretch. If you have a quarterback that is in danger of a game manager like that, you got to almost play perfect like football. Even if you're ahead, you got to put the pedal in the metal, as we obviously saw in that Patriot Buffalo game, because things like that, momentum can switch like that in the NFL.
And I can't believe Dak won the Nickelodeon MVP. award.
Oh, I didn't watch any. I didn't watch any of the game on Nickelodeon. I watched a little of it last year, and I'm not saying I wasn't a fan of it, but you have Jim Nance and Tony Romo. Man,
The kid caster
it's my favorite.
was a fanboy of the Cowboys. He was losing his mind. He's like, that should be a 1 second. And then they're like, oh my god, this is controversy. That's what the guy said. Like one of the kid casters, like, this is controversy. That's what.
Wait, they're right. It is controversial with how bad Dallas played, so that is very controversial. I would agree on that.
And Jimmy G, he had his moments and had his bad moments. He almost cost himself the game. And Dak running a QB draw and you don't know what to do. That's a dumb call. And I don't see him ever returning to form after that. And
You're not Michael Vick.
and him and the fans throwing stuff at the freaking refs. You're better than those. You're better than that. And then Dak blaming the refs after the game and saying about those people throwing stuff at the refs was terrible. And I think he's gonna get fined a lot of money. Dak he should get like lots of fine there. And I think Josh Norman was one of the key players in this game.
I think that was just the heat of the moment by Dak. I think he'll cross back from those comments, man. But
the problem is that if anybody else said that, there would have been an issue.
Sure,
Tom Brady said that it would have been.
If it was Tom Brady or Jalen Ramsey or Dale Beckham Jr. or Stafford or
Gronk,
yeah, and so I think it was definitely inappropriate on that part. But what is more inappropriate, before I let you continue to be the hosting duties, is that any Cowboys fan, I want everybody to look at the cameras, and every Cowboys fan should be banned for life. Because this is, I don't care if they purposely threw the game. You don't throw stuff at people. Because you see, and there was fights, I saw things on TikTok and Instagram, fights, people going drunk and insane, taking their shirts off. So it's like, at that point, you don't know what they have in their bottles or their food, or it could be, we don't know. You can't take any risk. And that, to me, is absolutely unacceptable. Yes, there's some maybe questionable things from the refs for either side, but you don't throw things at the refs. Because that shows that you're a coward, that you shouldn't be watching football ever again. It's absolutely unacceptable. I don't care.
Yeah.
So moving on to the Sunday night game, as Loro's back, we just got to the Pittsburgh game, and my take on it real quick. They were up 7-0. J.J. Watt had not J.J. Watt, but T.J. Watt had the scoop and score, but that was pretty much a mirage. Kansas City, that was a microcosm of their season. They started off slow in that game. Pittsburgh thought they had them figured out. But then Kansas City went and did their thing. And, Pat Mahomes threw for 5 touchdowns, 404 yards, just amazing. And, I would love to get everybody's take on Big Ben after, they're done with their game take. But I finally think there's a sigh of relief for mostly all Steeler fans, even if they don't want to come clean with it. But I think they're finally happy that Big Ben is finally done, and it's years in the making. It's like 3 or 4 years. He should have been out. They should have moved on. But in the game as well, I would have thought the Steelers would have ran the ball better with Najee Harris. Screen passes would have gone better. Juju Smith even being out there, Schuster, that took a lot of guts. But in the end, it was too much for the Chiefs too much for the Steelers to handle, honestly.
Yeah, but anyways, folks, I'm back. Sorry again, I dealt with technical difficulties. So my thoughts is that the Chiefs, however, played a good football game, but I mean, T.J. Watt made only the play of the game. He was kind of one of the bright spots in the loss, but at the same time, I think the Steelers know that they're embracing that Big Ben is going to retire, and I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be having a new quarterback next year, and I think it's going to be a rookie quarterback that starts. So, John, I'll go to you here. What was your thoughts on the Chiefs-Steelers game, and also thoughts on Ben Roethlisberger's career?
Ben Roethlisberger looked like one of the Golden Girls. Like, I don't understand. Like, over 3.5 quarters of this game, you had 87 passing yards. You're slower than the snail from SpongeBob. It just doesn't make sense. After you lost against Jacksonville, that should have been an indication. The Steelers and Big Ben, you can talk about whatever with Mike Tomlin, but overall, specifically Big Ben and Mike Tomlin, they have not won, or I think it's like not won a playoff game or advanced deeply in like 4 to 5, 6 years. So when they lost against Jaguars, who almost went to the Super Bowl and signed Blake Bortles, who beat the Colts this past week, that's not the point. That should have been an indication to move on. That would have gotten you some great trade value. But now you put the Steelers in a crappy position financially. You draft Najee Harris, which was a mistake, not because he isn't great. He's a phenomenal player. But you also have, what do you do with Juju Smith? Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, who's a TikTok disaster, and all these other guys. What are you supposed to do? TJ Watt comes back next year. Hopefully he gets a sack record. You don't know. You're going to have to settle for a veteran quarterback who's probably not going to do. Maybe Cam Newton on a 1-year deal. And you're going to have to maybe Dwayne Haskins is the back of a third stringer because you couldn't swallow your pride. They'd be like, hey, I probably shouldn't be playing football. When you got embarrassed by the Browns last year, even then, I should probably retire. If you didn't have a Super Bowl, I'll be okay, fine. But there is no way. There should be no delusional sports fan out there that thought, hey, the Steelers have a chance in this football game. It's the same story. Tennessee saw that in the championship game in 2020. Houston saw it against Kansas City. At some point, it's the same story where, they look like it's too late, and then they come back literally almost every time. So Steelers have no chance. It's going to be a long, awful offseason. But I mean, I give the Chiefs full credit. They just continue to do what they do.
And what about you, Ben? I mean, what was your thoughts on Roethlisberger's final game and the Chiefs being the Chiefs? I think the Chiefs, but with them beating Pittsburgh, this team could go on to a Super Bowl. Still.
Well, I mean, the Chiefs are obviously finding their stride, and for those that felt like that slump in the season was, not was going to last for a while, think again. And this kind of reminds me of some Brady Patriot years where people say, "Oh, he's washed up, he's all done." The talent's just too much, and then you have the coach. Once you kind of get into stride, you basically essentially spread your things out. They got on the roll. I agree with John. I think that Big Ben, he's had a great, I think overall, I mean, you could say, his antics off the field, but that's besides the point. You basically see his emotion after that Browns game. Pouncey was one of his centers, and he retired this past year, and it looked like Big Ben, from his emotion, it looked like he was all done. He should have just hung it up at that point in time. John was also right, too, in terms of, you basically are in a certain situation now with your cap hit, a bunch of guys. Juju was said after the game yesterday, he thinks that Ben has more left in the tank. I totally disagree. I think that Big Ben and his arm is all but cooked. There's nothing that I see anymore with his arm that basically is just saying, move on. He's done. And he's at, it's an end of an era for a Pittsburgh team. I saw him play live, against the Patriots one year, and he's been an incredible player. He's hard to bring down, but a lot of guys, it's besides guys like Brady and Rodgers to keep their bodies healthy, a lot of guys just break down. It is what it is. I think that Laura, you are right in terms of their quarterback. I think that they go to the draft and they kind of go that way. Tomlin will probably still be there. He's a great coach. He also earned a lot of my respect yesterday because he was saying, I got to give it to the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's a coach to me that's won a good amount of Super Bowls. Even though I don't really like the Steelers, I can't really stand them. But as a coach and stuff, that's pure class. That's definitely stuff I really like to see. That Chiefs team definitely has Super Bowl aspirations for once again another year. And people could not can't like them, this and that. Their talent's just too there. It's too much there. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey, Demarcus Robinson. They didn't even have one of their top backs in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and they did not miss a beat. I thought this was going to be the most lopsided game of the whole weekend. It was a lopsided game. It just turned out to be one out of a lot more than I thought. But yeah, I think this definitely was a game where next game against the Bills is going to be probably the best game. I think this is my hot take. It's going to be the best game of the whole playoffs. I think you have basically two quarterbacks that are at their peak right now with a lot of weapons around. Even though the Bills don't have the pure amount of weapons like the Kansas City Chiefs, I think that they can have a track meet going toe to toe because the Chiefs defense isn't great, but they can take a lot of their deficiencies on defense and basically just run up like their offense does all the time and go head to toe with a team like Buffalo. So that should be a really good game. But in terms of this game, like I said, Big Ben's had a good career, but it's time for him to go. And Kansas City, you got a chance to go back to Super Bowl once again.
And what about you, Justin? What's your thoughts on the Chiefs-Steelers game before we talk about Monday Night Football?
It was one of those snooze fests. Two, it was time. I was on one of the Colorcast hot seats when T.J. Watt scored a touchdown, and I thought that game was going to be over for the Steelers, but then the Chiefs came back and won the game. But anyways, I think the Steelers. I heard that Juju Smith-Schuster has been recruiting Russell Wilson. So
Probably not. That's not going to happen because I heard a report that the Steelers want to get a rookie quarterback to compete with Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins.
I could see
for the starting job.
You don't go to the draft this year for a rookie quarterback. That would be a mistake.
I could see Kenny Pickett probably with the Steelers next year. That would be a good fit for the Steelers. And the Chiefs, they had a good game. This game, they blew out. But blowouts, you still have to perform in blowouts. Still have to get yardage and stuff like that. But next week will be the biggest game of Josh Allen's career. That's what I'm saying.
It's probably going to be the biggest game of Josh Allen's career. You're totally spot on right about that. But anyways, with that being said, let's go to our comments here. So we're going to be talking about the Rams and Cardinals game as Christy Wilson tunes in and says, great job by the Rams tonight, which was a really good showing by them. And then Christy also says, if Russell Wilson leaves Seattle, she thinks that Wilson will be a Denver Bronco, and I don't think that's going to happen because I think Russell Wilson will remain a Seattle Seahawk.
You might go to the Dolphins too.
Probably not the Dolphins. So, anyways, with that being said here, talk about Monday Night Football, but in this game, talk about Budda Baker having a concussion. That was a brutal, brutal hit to him, and hopefully he's okay. And it didn't look like that. It didn't look like that he broke his neck or anything. It was just a vicious hit. I'll start with you, James, on this one. What was your thoughts on the Rams and Cardinals game, and what was your thoughts on Budda Baker's concussion?
Well, I heard Baker, there was a tweet out saying he's in good condition. So, but yeah, that's the dangers about playing football, signing up. You brace for a hit, and you get hit yourself. And, yeah, that was scary. Kind of a soft moment in a game like that. With Arizona, right away, Kyler Murray just seems to make awful plays when he's in trouble in the opponent's end zone. We've seen on Christmas where he kind of, flinged the ball away and got a safety for the Colts. Well, this time he outdid himself, and I don't know what the hell that was, but he kind of flew it out there just for anybody to grab, and the Rams were able to get that ball. And, he only threw 437 yards, 2 interceptions. I was hoping for more with the running game with Arizona, with Connor, with Edmonds, but that was not the case there. They tried to get the tight ends involved, and Kirk got 6 yards for 51. Ertz had 3 for 21. Receivers didn't do much. For Los Angeles, though, Stafford was solid, 202 yards, 2 touchdowns. Odell even threw a pass for 40 yards. Sonu Michel, it was good to see him run. And then Cam Akers, this was his first action this season. And he had 17 carries for 55 yards. So that was good to see him. Cooper Kupp had a touchdown. Odell had a touchdown. Jefferson and Akers had big plays there. And then the defense was solid. Totally shut down the Cardinals until a certain point in the second half where they gave up 11. But and also, I have to mention there were 4 great punts by Johnny Hecker, and it's it's kind of a little point in games, but he's really solid. He gets the ball within the 10-yard line or less, so he always puts the defense in a good spot to stop the other team's offense. So solid job by the Rams all the way through. I just wonder how much DeAndre Hopkins would have meant in this game. Maybe it would have been closer, but I still would have went with the Rams. It was weird to see definitely a wild card game on a Monday, but that's what we had. So that's all I got.
Anyways, Ben, with that being said here, what's your takeaway on the Monday night game? And also, Budda Baker had a concussion in this game.
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the LA Rams. They always seem to kind of be a team the last couple of years that, Sean McVay is an offensive guru coach. That obviously will take you pretty far. And also your defense. They have a very, very good stout defense. You have guys like Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, 2 of the best defensive players in the National Football League on the same side. Then you add one of the best premier edge rushers in Von Miller mid part of the season. That just basically essentially adds a ton to that mix there. James, I got to agree with you. I thought that Arizona should have used their running game more. James Conner was one of the top backs in the NFL this year. And without DeAndre Hopkins, you got to find other ways to use your offense differently. And I think that comes down to play calling. Cliff Kingsbury is another guy that should be on I'm going to say the hot seat, but he should definitely be unconsidered he's definitely been falling apart. And, you definitely see coaches when it comes to playoff time, are they built for the moment? Every single time I saw Cliff Kingsbury tonight, he was looking down at his play sheet. You probably should have a better idea in terms of what plays you're going to give out to Kyler Murray than looking down at your play sheet almost half the single time. Kyler Murray also, too, I just don't think he's yet for the big stage. I think that he is a great quarterback. I think that there's things about him. It's very electrifying. He reminds me of Lamar Jackson with a better arm. So he's extremely talented. There's a lot of things going for him. But when it comes to the faster defenses, DeAndre Hopkins, too lower, we've made a huge difference. He's a top 3 receiver without a doubt in this league. He relied on him for a lot of their early success in their season. You take away a premier guy like DeAndre Hopkins, then you got to really kind of see what your team's made out of beyond that. And it just seemed like they never really recovered at all. The Rams defense also is a terrible matchup for them. The first game, I just really thought that that's a game that I really thought the Rams really kind of just gave it to them. And Matthew Stafford, man, I'm so happy for the guy. He's been living through Detroit. He's been so loyal to that fan base, and he finally got his first playoff win this tonight. And Cooper Kupp is definitely going to bring them down, potentially a playoff streak, because, man, he is so good in terms of his routes, add yards after the catch. I'm definitely going to be adding to my fantasy team between him, more of Justin Jefferson, and Deebo Samuel. 3 of these guys have been the most impactful wide receivers that I think a lot of people don't give enough credit for. And I think that this game is just dominated top to bottom, kind of similar to a lot of the games like the Chiefs and Steelers and the Bucks and Eagles, where just when you kind of got the early start, you never look back. And I think that the Cardinals have a lot of looking forward to do with this off season. What are they going to do with Kingsbury? I think that's going to be a big question mark. Does Kyler make that next step yet when it comes to the playoff time? Because we've seen the last several years with the Cardinals is they always kind of seem to falter at the end of the season when the crunch time happens, and then obviously that's not a great sign for a franchise, for a team that looked like they were playing with great high aspirations. It came down to also the final play against the Green Bay Packers, where Kyler Murray had a chance to even force overtime, and Kingsbury decided to make a stupid play call. So it definitely is just a little bit jarring the way that the Cardinals kind of went out in their season. But I do agree that they should have used their offense in different ways to even make this even a game, which didn't happen to be the case. So, good job for the Rams in this one.
And anyways, let's go to Justin on this one. What is your thoughts on this Monday night game? And talk about Buda Baker having an ugly concussion there.
Justin, I think you're muted, man.
Oh, and I also like to say in terms of Buda Baker, I do wish him the best of luck.
Ben, tough loss
Yes.
today for UConn. First off, what an upset loss for UConn today.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, they lost to Oregon. Yes, what a tough loss. But anyways, I think the off-season trades worked out for the Rams. Von Miller, what a trade in the season. That was a good trade. That he played good today, and so did Sony Michel. Almost got a touchdown. That off-season acquisition was going. That was a good off-season acquisition, and I liked Odell Beckham. He's been balling out lately for his Rams career, and Matt Stafford didn't overthrow him this time like last week against the Niners. He actually threw him better balls, and Odell Beckham, Von Miller, and Tony Michel, those three guys that they got with trades, they contributed somewhat today, and I think it's Super Bowl or bust for this Rams team, and I can see them making a Super Bowl run, but we'll see what happens. And for the Cardinals side of the ball, I could see them. They need to get offensive line help. In the offseason. And Cliff Kingsbury is on the hot seat. It's time for him to go. He needs to get fired immediately for that trick play. What are we doing? That trick play in the first half of that game. I mean, the first half of that game. The trick play. What are you doing? It's just like the Cowboys trick play in the Niners game, where they just do a screen pass over there, a screen pass over there. What are we doing? Just stupid plays. That was a college trick play that he was trying to do, and that's not going to work. And I think Cliff Kingsbury should be fired.
And then, John, I'll go to you on this one. Do you have any thoughts on this game? And also talk about Buda Baker. And that was a really ugly concussion right there.
Buda Baker, man, that to me, I've had very few times in the playoffs this year. Obviously, the playoffs so far have been really boring for the most part. But that play has been the one I've seen in my lifetime since the Ryan Shazier hit, when I was like, oh my goodness, this cannot be happening. Because this guy has been underrated in his career. This guy has been a leader, phenomenal player, Pro Bowl, All-Pro. Deserves to be in a Super Bowl and win one like right before he retired. But thankfully, he's okay, and that he'll be, as it looks, just fine. Because I was like worried at first. You're taking a break. You're taking a timeout. It's like we really don't know what's going to happen. But other than that, Cliff Kingsbury needs to quit. before I give him the pink slip. This guy is an absolute joke in the NFL. And I said this, I think, on Coast to Coast or MI6, is the fact is this is a statement game for him. Either he's a head coach, not just for Arizona Cardinals, or maybe another chance to be a head coach in the NFL somewhere else. You couldn't win in college. You pissed off Baker. Baker won the Heisman, got first overall pick, won a playoff game last year against the Steelers, and Big Ben retired after this season. So now there are no excuses because Kyler Murray, even when you had DeAndre Hopkins, even then, give or take for a couple games, you still had James Conner, you still had your tight end, you still had Rondale Moore, you still had Christian Kirk, you still had Max Williams. You had no excuses why you couldn't have played better in this game. And even then, this season, you complete less than 50% of your passes against your divisional rivals in the regular season, against your NFC West teams. Less than 50% complete, less than 48% completion percentage. That too already is already going to be an indication how bad this team played without DeAndre Hopkins in the regular season. That basically just translated into the playoffs. Coach Kingsbury is a fraudulent head coach, and he needs to be fired, if not 100% on the hot seat. Because with this current squad, with the current head coach and everybody they have on their staff, they will never win a Super Bowl. Kyler Murray is a great elite quarterback. We're not questioning that. But this team will not be a finish type team if they don't get a new head coach. And like Justin said, the offensive line. Plain and simple.
Definitely. You're absolutely right about that. But Isaiah wanted to bring up something here, and that Mike Mayock was fired as Raiders GM. And want to get your take on this one, and also I'll go to James on this one too. I'll start with you, Isaiah. What is your takeaway on Mike Mayock being fired as GM of the Raiders?
3 words. Harbaugh is coming. This is the only thing that makes of this move. Jim Harbaugh will be the next head coach and de facto GM of the Las Vegas Raiders. Mark Davis wants to clean house. He wants to have a clean sweep. He wants to, bring in a whole new coaching staff, bring in a whole new front office, because reportedly Mike Mayock wanted to keep Rich Bisaccia as the head coach of the Raiders, and he was Rich Bisaccia's biggest backer. So now it doesn't look like that Rich Bisaccia will remain as the Raiders head coach. I know they have to interview him, but I think it's just them being respectful to him for the job that he did with them. But he lost his biggest backer now, so I don't think he's going to get the job. I think that Mark Davis, like Ian Rappaport reported, I think Tom Pelissero also reported that he wants to get a big fish. He wants to get a big fish, a big splash into the Las Vegas Raiders. And, he's been eyeing Jim Harbaugh, and that's a fact. He's been eyeing Jim Harbaugh for at least since Harbaugh got fired back in 2014. It was Gruden that was the apple of his eye. And the second apple of his eye was Jim Harbaugh. Gruden is now gone. I expect him to go out and get Jim Harbaugh. He's been wanting Jim Harbaugh for a long, long time. And it makes sense to fire Mayock, because if you bring in Harbaugh, anywhere Harbaugh's going to go, whether it's the Jaguars or the Giants or the Bears, the Vikings or whomever, he's going to want, control of the roster after what happened with him and Trent Baalke in San Francisco. He wants to at least control the 53-man roster. So this move allows Harbaugh to come in and hire his own GM, or, be his own GM and have final powers in terms of personnel decisions. So Jim Harbaugh, I think it looks clear it's getting clearer every single day that he's going to be the next head coach, and he's going to be the guy that runs the football operations for the Raiders.
And also, Isaiah, my question for you is that if Jim Harbaugh is the head coach of the Raiders, how excited would he be to work with Derek Carr?
I think he would be very excited, because I think that and Derek Carr should want Jim Harbaugh to be with to be the coach of the Raiders, given the fact that the reports out are that the next head coach and the GM will decide Derek Carr's fate. And Jim Harbaugh, I think that he would want to keep Derek Carr, because the problem with him at Michigan is the fact that he can't recruit a quarterback. So I don't think he wants to start all over with a young rookie quarterback. I think that he wants an established veteran to be his quarterback. He works well with established quarterbacks. Look at Alex Smith, Colin Kaepernick. So I think that for Jim Harbaugh, I think he would be very excited to keep Derek Carr, keep Josh Jacobs, and all the guys that they have, and just if they bring in Vic Fangio, the defense is going to look much, much improved because Vic Fangio is a great defensive coach when it comes to schematics. So he's going to definitely, just hiring him alone will definitely improve the Raiders on defense. So I think Harbaugh, like you said, or like you asked me, Laurel, I think Harbaugh would be very excited to coach Derek Carr. I think there's also reports that he's been wanting to coach Derek Carr. And if you're Derek Carr, you should stump hard for Jim Harbaugh to be your head coach, because if it's not Harbaugh, then I don't know.
I still want Rich Bisaccia because I think Rich Bisaccia is
He's
a
not
good.
going to be the guy. They already fired him, so there's nothing.
No, they didn't fire him. They're going to interview him, but it just looks like it's like an out of respect type of a thing. Mayock's the one that is gone, which was Bisaccia's like biggest backer in the organization. So I think Loro, unfortunately, I think that if you had told me today that, or if you had asked me a couple of days ago, I think Bisaccia probably had like a 50-50 shot to keep his job, depending on if they landed Harbaugh or not. But I think after today, after Mayock is gone, I think that percentage is now down to like 15% that Bisaccia keeps his job.
And James, I'll go to you on this one. What's your takeaways on Mike Mayock being fired as the GM of your Las Vegas Raiders?
Well, first of all, I definitely share the same comments as Isaiah about what he said with Jim Harbaugh, with the direction they're going to go. The only thing I've heard about coaching and who could be their next head coach as well, Gerard Mayo could be there. I haven't heard anything about Brian Flores, but speculation is definitely out there. The only thing is, I thought Gus Bradley did a well enough job to keep his defensive job, but if certain people aren't going to be there, and then if someone else comes in like Harbaugh, he's going to want his own guys. So they're not going to have Gus Bradley there, and that's unfortunate because they made a little strides on defense. Anyway, with Mike Mayock, he always seemed to make picks that had players in the national championship. It was always, guys from Alabama or Clemson. And many of them didn't work out. Clelin Ferrell, Henry Ruggs III, Ohio State, Damian Arnett, because of either off the field stuff or on the field performance or lack thereof, right? So, but you can say, hey, you drafted Hunter Renfrow, and he's been the main guy from those draft classes. But we all have to remember John Gruden had the final say-so on all decisions. So, based on all that, everybody has to go from that time. And like Isaiah said, Mark Davis is trying to clean house, make the big move like he did with the Las Vegas Aces, getting Becky Hammon as their head coach in the WNBA. So I'm at a standstill, and we're only, 1 day, 2 days removed from the final game. So already there's tense moments within the Raider organization and fan base. And it's really going to be mind-boggling, which direction they go. And, we'll see what happens, but it's nervous time, definitely, for Raider Nation.
All right. Anyways, I'll go to John in this one. You know the AFC West well from being the Denver Broncos. What's your thoughts on Mike Mayock being fired, and what is it going to feel like if the AFC West hires Jim Harbaugh?
Well, first of all, they're not hiring Harbaugh, and I think that I don't love the fit. But I think at the same time, even with Harbaugh, though, Derek Carr is a free agent after this year. So either you see 2022 if you bring Harbaugh in as a not chemistry type year, but an experiment to see, hey, either he's the guy with us moving forward or what type of offense he does want to run. but I don't see him going to the Raiders, especially when you gain much so close, a couple games away from actually winning it all. But I could be wrong.
And what about you, Justin? What's your thoughts on Jim Harbaugh potentially coaching the Raiders?
I see Jim Harbaugh staying with Michigan his whole career because that's his alma mater and he wants to stay there.
All right. So, anyways, with that being said here, now let's shift gears, and now time to make our picks for the divisional round of the playoffs. And we are going to be in for a really good weekend. We got some really good games for you. And let's start with the Bengals and the Titans, which will be playing on Saturday here. And I'll tell you what.
Before you continue, let me just say this. Adam Barber, someone get him on the phone right now to watch this because I got something for him when we talk Niners-Packers.
Okay. We're not going to get to that game right now. So we're talking about the Titans and Bengals here. I'm on the Joe Burrow hype train, but as much as I like Mike Vrabel, I like what he's doing in Tennessee, but sorry, not your night. I'm going with Joe Burrow and the Bengals over the Tennessee Titans because I just think that Joe Burrow is a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill. I think that offensively they're better. I just think Tennessee's offense is built around Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill's a good game manager, but I just think that if you look at the Titans, I mean, it's just three guys that make the offense go. Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, and A.J. Brown. And I think the defense of the Titans has been really good this year. So give me the Bengals in this one, and I have them going to the AFC Championship game for the first time since Boomer Esiason was at quarterback. I'm actually going to go to James Gonzalez on this one next. So who do you like between the Bengals and the Titans? Give me your pick and why.
Man, it all depends on Derrick Henry if he gets activated, which he's expected to. But how much is he going to play? And then there's questions about the defensive line for the Bengals, as there's some banged up Bengals. That sounded weird. Tennessee coming off their bye week. I hate giving picks this early, but Tennessee defense, their secondary, they're going to have to really, key on Jamar Chase deep, but that means Tyler Boyd, the other guys. I would like to see Joe Mixon run better. Lauro, you convinced me. I know it's early. I'm going with the Bengals. I think they keep the train moving.
You're mute.
You're on mute.
You're muted.
Isaiah on this one here. So who do you like between the Bengals and the Titans? And I picked Cincinnati, and don't go bold on me here.
Well, dude, if I pick Tennessee, I wouldn't really be going bold because they're like the number one seed. So, I mean, I think they're like a favorite in this game. So, me going Cincinnati would actually be the bold choice and would be the upset choice. But when I think about this game, I don't really think we'll see that much defense because I don't really trust the Bengals defense. I've been saying that all year. The Titans defense has been suspect a bunch of times this season. Their secondary is not really that good. But I think, like James said, it's going to come down to Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry's able to play this game and be the Derrick Henry that we know and love, then I think Tennessee is going to win this game because what they're just going to do is run the football. And with the Bengals, their defense already not being that strong, especially on the defensive line, and with them being a really banged up with Hendrickson, he's got some type of injury. They've got other guys on the D line that's injured right now. So it's going to really depend on Derrick Henry. I think that Derrick Henry will come in. I don't think he'll look like a fresh 100% Derrick Henry because he's going to obviously be rusty. But I think that Derrick Henry at 80% Derrick Henry will still be very effective. And I think he'll be about 80% going into this game. I think he'll have a really good day for the Titans. And I think what the Titans are going to do is just do what the Niners did back in 2019, which is run the football, play time of possession, don't make mistakes, and you're going to win the football game. So give me the Titans to win this game. I'm going to go I'm gonna go like 27-21.
That's probably a good take there, but I'm going to go to John on this one. Who do you like between the Titans and the Bengals, and why?
Bengals, but I trust anything else more than I do that Bengals defense. It's beyond trash. Maybe your best player, Trey Hendrickson, it should be good to go for this game, but your other defensive player, of course, is out for this game and obviously for the rest of the season. So it's just, even if Derrick Henry is healthy, you can't trust Ryan Tannehill. This guy's a bum. This guy had 15 touchdowns, 14 picks on the year. This guy's not a quarterback. This guy's barely should even be starting in the college level. I know it's gonna offend people, but like I think Laura was saying, like without Derrick Henry, this offense is practically stale. It's boring. It's like butter pecan ice cream. You're not gonna be able to get anything done. So I don't see. I mean, I see a chance of Tennessee winning this football game. But overall, I still give maybe Cincinnati the edge of 1 to 2 points. But it's going to come really close just because their defense is really suspicious.
And Justin, what about you? Who do you like in this game and why?
Titans, because they're my Super Bowl team to make the Super Bowl, so I love the Titans. And I love Mike Vrabel for the Patriots, and I'm rooting for all Patriots around. And I have Derrick Henry having a beast of a game, and don't look out for Jerry or Julio Jones or AJ Brown.
Yeah, don't sleep on AJ Brown, because I think AJ Brown is definitely a player to watch here. That's for sure. So anyways, now let's go on and talk about the 49ers and the Packers. So I'll start with my choice here to win. I'm actually going to pick the Green Bay Packers to win this game. I think it'll be a close game. I think if you look at it, I think it'll be a game. I think it's going to be a close game. And I also think that San Fran will give Green Bay a game. But I just think Green Bay is the better team. And I think Kyle Shanahan will do something foolish that will cost the Niners the game. So, I mean, I think Kyle Shanahan doesn't know how to coach against really good teams here. So, Isaiah, I'm going to go first on you in this one. And you have you have a take that you want to say for the 49ers here against Adams' Green Bay Packers.
Yes, and that is the team that Aaron Rodgers wanted to be drafted to. The team that he was pissed off as heck that didn't draft him and still holds a grudge against them to this very day. The team that, has owned him in the postseason the past or throughout his entire career. That team, the red and gold, the 49ers, will send Aaron Rodgers packing from the Green Bay Packers. This will be his last game as a Green Bay Packer. Aaron Rodgers will lose this football game. The 49ers, it's simple. The recipe is simple to win. And I said this earlier to you, Ben, James, Justin, and you, Laurel, as well, that the recipe is run the football because the conditions are going to be 8 degrees going into that game. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. It's going to be possibly snowing as well. The wind chill, I think, is supposed to be like -2 degrees going into kickoff. And I read somewhere that this could possibly be like the second coldest game ever in Lambeau Field in the playoffs. So the recipe is simple. When you have these conditions, run the football, play great defense. Whoever can do that will win this football game. And these conditions play to the 49ers' strength. If this game was in like 60-degree weather, 70-degree weather, where Aaron Rodgers can chuck the ball up, throw it like 55, 60 times, I think the Packers would easily beat the 49ers. But this is going to be in the weather where you're probably not going to be able to throw the ball even 25 times in this game to win. So you're going to have to run the football. I don't trust Green Bay's run defense. I think the 49ers, last time they played them, the defensive line manhandled Green Bay's offensive line. San Francisco's offensive line manhandled Green Bay's defensive line. It's going to come down to the battle of the trenches, and I think that Kyle Shanahan and the Niners, they have the recipe. These conditions play in their favor. Give me the Niners to win this game. It's going to be a close game, but I think San Francisco takes it by 4 points.
And I'm going to go to John in this one. Who do you like in this game and why?
I picked the Packers by 5. I just think I get with the number he's had the number with the Niners the past couple of seasons. I don't trust Jimmy G. Sooner or later, I think in this game, Jimmy G is going to have a boneheaded interception, and it's not going to be like against the Cowboys where it's going to have a similar solution at the end of the game. Aaron Rodgers can most of the time bring his team back into games, but we'll have to find out. But I say Packers by 5.
And then I'm going to go to James Gonzalez there. Who do you like between the Packers and the 49ers?
In order for the Niners to win, they have to win the time of possession. They have to run the ball, like Isaiah said. Mix some plays up with Deebo Samuel, get them going on end rounds and whatnot. The Packers, in order for them to win, Rodgers would have to be great. Adams. I'm going with the Packers, no doubt. I think they're too explosive offensively. And then when you look up front with Joey Bosa and Fred Warner both being out potentially, that's a big loss. And I think the Packers are just the class of the NFC. Now, if the 49ers win, then they're on a magical run that'll probably get them to the Super Bowl. But I think the Packers win this.
I think the Packers will win this game too. And what about you, Justin? You would want to see Garoppolo go on to another AFC championship game. NFC championship.
Yeah. I want to see Jimmy G versus Brady. Give me that matchup because that's going to be the highest rated NFC championship game if that happens. Because the New England area would love to see it. Who's the best Patriot QB? Will it be Jimmy G or will it be Brady? And I have the Niners winning with Jimmy G's touchdown pass. And Jimmy G will get his money, baby. Jimmy G.
All right. So, anyways, now that being said here, now we'll be talking about the Buccaneers and Rams game. I mean, this is the Sunday game coming up. So, I have playing in the AFC Championship game in my bracket. I got Brady versus Rodgers in the NFC Championship game. So you guys tell me who you like here. I'm going to start with Justin on this one. Who do you want between the Buccaneers and the Rams? And I say it's going to be Brady versus Rodgers.
I think it's going to be Brady versus Jimmy G. That's going to be the highest rated NFC Championship game in history. 2 storylines. Tom Brady hates Jimmy G. Oh my God. Jimmy G hates Tom Brady. Oh my God. Who's going to win that game? The world will never know because Jimmy G will win that game. Mark my words. Jimmy G's going to the Super Bowl, baby, and he'll win on Super. And Jimmy G's going to win a Super Bowl, baby. Let's go. Let's go, Jimmy G.
And what about you, Isaiah? I mean, who do you like between the Bucs and the Rams?
I think this is going to be a shootout. I think that this probably will be the game of the divisional round to watch. I'm going with the Rams. Give me the Rams in an upset because I think that the defense of the Rams will come down and they will be able to do what they did last time they played Brady and the Bucs, and that is hold them out of the end zone, make them kick field goals. They can have their field goals, but the Rams will get their touchdowns. And I think that that's what's going to end up costing the Bucs in the end is that they just kick too much field goals while the Rams got touchdowns.
And then I'm going to go to James on this one here. Who do you like between the Rams and the Bucs? I'm going with Brady, honestly.
Man, we'll see Ramsey on Mike Evans. I think that would be a great matchup on the outside there for the receiver versus corner. I'm really torn on this because, you could say, hey, week 2 in Inglewood, the Rams easily beat the Bucs, but that was then. This is now. We'll see about that offensive line, and if a couple guys are missing for the Bucs, if they're not as good, Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd, well, they're going to get after Brady, and if they do that. And then if Matthew Stafford is able to not turn the ball over, and the running game does well like they did tonight, mixed with Cooper Kupp, and the Tampa Bay defense not as good. I could definitely see the Rams winning, and I think I'll go with LA.
And what about you, John?
This is going to be a statement game for Matthew Stafford. If you can't beat Brady, then yes, I give you full credit. Congratulations for your first ever playoff win. You finally have the team that you should have had 12 years ago when it came out of Georgia. But this is Tom Brady we're talking about. You can say, oh, Chris Godwin or whatever. You still have Mike Evans, you still have O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate. You still have very great running backs. Kevin Vaughn in the backfield also is a third-string guy. You still have, I believe, Le'Veon Bell or another running back too. So they got a ton of weapons. Brady's going to win this game. They're going to go in the instant championship game and potentially face off against the Bills in the Super Bowl.
All right. Anyways, with that being said, folks, so we had our NFC and AFC championship game picks already. I have, anyways, let's go to the AFC side. You got the Chiefs taking on the Buffalo Bills here, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. And basically, my bracket for the NFC and AFC championship games it's going to be the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Bengals, and then we will see the Packers and the Buccaneers. That is my bracket for the AFC and NFC championship game. Isaiah, I'm going to go to you. Who do you have winning between the Chiefs and the Bucs, and who is in your AFC and NFC championship game bracket?
For me, I'm going to go with I already picked the Niners to beat the Packers. I think I also picked I believe I picked in the other NFC matchup, I picked the Rams to upset the Bucs. So I'm going to go Niners and Rams in the NFC Championship. In the AFC, I picked the Titans already. So in terms of Chiefs and Bills, oh, man, this is going to be another really good game. And I think we could see like a shootout of like 45 to 40 in this game because both defenses, I don't think will be a factor in this game. Both offenses are super electric. Give me Kansas City. Give me Kansas City. I'm going to go Kansas City wins this game. It's going to be a shootout. Give me Kansas City like 38 to 35. So I got the Titans versus the Chiefs, and I got the Niners versus the Rams in the NFC Championship.
And then I'll go to James Gonzalez. Who do you have in the AFC Championship game and the NFC Championship game? And who do you have winning between the Bills and the Chiefs? And who's going to be playing in the AFC Championship game next week along with the NFC Championship game?
Well, the Chiefs will defeat the Bills just like they did last season. But hopefully the Bills make it interesting. But we'll see. So I had the Bengals defeating Tennessee. So it'd be the rematch of the week, 17 game between the Bengals and the Chiefs. But this time at Arrowhead. And I have to pick the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. And then I had Green Bay and Los Angeles. And at Lambeau Field, I think the Packers will win that. So I'm going to go Chiefs and Packers for the Super Bowl.
And what about you, Justin? Who do you have between the Chiefs? Who do you have in the AFC and NFC?
Beating the Chiefs because I see Josh Allen playing the game of his life in this game and going off, and I see him outdoing Patrick Mahomes in this game. So I'm going with the Bills there. And Bills Titans, I have the Titans beating the Bills and going to the Super Bowl. And then the best game of the year, Jimmy G, the former Patriot legend, versus Tom Brady, the former other Patriot legend, the highest rated game ever of all time. And Tom Brady wins the game, handily blowout win. And then goes to the Super Bowl, and then Tom Brady wins another Super Bowl against the Titans.
And what about you, John?
The Bills, I picked, maybe I'm wrong, but I picked the Bills to beat the Chiefs. And maybe I'm wrong, but I just think you can say regular season playoffs are different. I just think we saw a little bit of a different team through the first start of the season. The Chargers beat them at home. I believe the Bills beat them this year. So I picked the Bills to win this game, and I still stick to my Super Bowl pick of the Bucks and Bills in the Super Bowl, because if the Bills can finally get their Super Bowl after all the travesty, after losing 4 straight, if the Bills get to the Super Bowl and win it, you just need to already make a statue of Josh Allen outside the stadium.
All right, folks, it's been a great show. It's time for some final thoughts here. So my final thoughts is that looking forward to divisional round weekend, and also some announcements here. Wild Sports Talk will be tomorrow and Friday. Night Shift will be returning probably Thursday, and then the Extra Point will be back again on Sunday. So what are your final thoughts, Isaiah?
My final thoughts is that, great win for the Niners yesterday. It was an insane game. Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore, and even Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott. Next time you guys come to the Bay, dinner is on me. So thank you very much for that just awful play call. But, it was awful for you guys, but it was fantastic for us. And also, we'll throw in the Golden Gate Bridge. You can have that. You can take that back to Dallas if you want. But my final thoughts is, like I said, great show. Great to be back on, and great that I got to join you guys, even though, it was in the middle of the program. And to the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, June Jones wants the job of coaching Hawaii. I know he's 68 years old, but that man is a legend. If he wants the job, you do anything in your power to give him the job. You make that man say yes. You better not turn him down again. So that is my final thoughts.
And what are your final thoughts, John?
Final thoughts is, Isaiah, my taste for you to buy me dinner is beyond the McDonald's dollar menu, so we have to do something a little bit more beyond the cheap menu at McDonald's. But obviously, the $1 McChicken is great. So that's not the point. It's not food talk. I'm just excited for the games this week, and regardless, I think what happens for the Bengals, I think this is history in the making. And no, Isaiah, no. I think it's definitely an exciting time for the Bengals. I think Joe Burrow, my advice, obviously, yes, enjoy the moment, enjoy everything, but also take it in, but also just be calm. And he seems to be Joe Cool, and just continue to be Joe Cool. And whatever kind of cigar you got, Joe Cool, let me know, and I will be getting one of those.
And what are your final thoughts, Justin?
Thanks for having me, and I just wanted to say, hopefully they're better games in the NFL next week. Not a lot of blowouts next week, because there was only a few close games. Hopefully they're closer games, and no more snooze fests a lot of the time. Yes, no more snooze fest here. That's a good one right there. But we don't need any. We need Drew Lock as a Cincy as a backup here. But James, what are your final thoughts here as we wrap this show here?
Yeah, I second that motion with Justin. Hopefully the games will be better as the rounds get shorter. Hopefully we have some thrillers and not sleepers. Thank you for having me on the show again, Loro and Isaiah, John, everybody. Ben, he came with that passionate rant about his ball club, and I had similar feelings about mine going into the off season. Can't wait for next week, and hopefully we'll be talking about all 4 games being exciting. But we'll see. Take care.
Should be an exciting weekend, everybody. So for our producers, Stephen Wang, Isaiah, John, Justin, James, Loro signing off for now. I'll see everyone again on Sunday for a new episode of The Extra Point, and we can't wait to have a preview of the conference championship games on come Sunday.